There you go. Got you for 20 minutes here.
Okay.
Okay, if someone could please shut that back door, we will go ahead and start. And hopefully the sound is better for everybody. We had a technician come and kind of look at some things. Uh-oh. Okay, we'll open the floor for questions. Please raise your hand and identify your name and affiliation.
Gus, Jeff Spiegel from ABC 3340. Leaving Nick at home, was that a punishment for him or a way to avoid an uncomfortable situation?
No, you know, I think it's a privilege and a reward to represent your team here at SEC Media Days, and last Friday he lost that privilege. You know, we have high expectations, you know, for our players, but specifically our quarterback being the face of our program. And I will say this, up to this point, Nick has been a model teammate. He's been a model citizen and done everything we ask, but he made a mistake, and he's going to have to pay a price for that mistake, but he is very remorseful.
Coach Sheldon Haygood, Fox 6 out of Birmingham. Is this the end of it for him, or could there be additional punishment for him?
I've not made a decision yet. Like I said, he will pay a price for the mistake he made.
Coach, when you just started, you know, coming up and coaching, what was your first impression of Nick Saban when you first met him?
Of course, you know, I mean, he's very good at what he does. You know, has won a lot of games, and you know, I've got a lot of respect for him as a coach.
Coach John Wilson with KBTX TV. The success that your team had last year, the way you were able to win games, how does that help you as you build this foundation for the program you want at Auburn?
Yeah, you know, first of all, as far as last year goes, I mean, like I said earlier, it was one of the more rewarding and enjoyable seasons I had my whole coaching career. And where we came from to where we ended up, you know, from you know, the worst to first and win the SEC championship, that was really something, the way everything transpired, and obviously the memories and winning close games and everything that goes with that. With that being said, our challenge now is to put last year behind us. It was a lot of fun, great memories, but I think really what helps is, you know, we came 13 seconds away from winning the national championship, and that was a tough pill to swallow. And you know, our players and our coaches were extremely motivated, and so that has definitely helped us. And you know, I'm really looking forward, you know, to this year.
Mike Irwin, KNWA, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Coach, can you talk about the challenge of opening the season with a conference game against a team that didn't win a conference game when you're the defending SEC champs?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's going to be a challenge to open up the season with the SEC game. There's no doubt. We do have some experienced guys back. We are playing at home, but with that being said, we expect Arkansas to be much improved. You know, I think they're in a very similar situation as we were at this point last year. We know they're going to give it their best shot. We know they're going to be much improved, and we know we're going to have to play well, you know, to be able to win.
Coach Luke Simons, KAGS HD. What was the moment where you saw that your team really believed in what you were doing, and how, I guess how it just flipped? Because we've seen their recruiting classes over the years. It was there. They just hadn't been able to put it together until last year.
Yeah, you know, I think it was a process last year. You know, the LSU game really stands out to me. We didn't know a lot about our team other than, you know, the situations that we had the previous, 3 games. But that's a situation. We were getting blown out. We were getting embarrassed on the road. It was bad weather. And at halftime, it was kind of one of those defining moments, you know, were they going to shut her down or were they going to fight? And we had some coaches and some players challenge each other, and we went out and we fought, and we made the game interesting. Got our onside kick, it got overruled. But, you know, I'm not into moral victories, but we learned a lot about our team that, you know what, they weren't going to quit. They were going to keep fighting, and I think they took great pride in that. And then you fast forward a couple games to the Texas A&M game. To go to College Station, you know, I believe they were in the top 10 at the time, and Johnny Manziel was playing very well. And the way we won that game, I believe with 2 minutes, we drove the field, we scored and went up, and then we left a minute on the clock for Johnny Manziel, and at that point there's been very few people that stopped him, and then D. Ford sacked him, and then we left the field that day feeling like we could play with anybody. And that's really the first time I let my mind go there. I was just so focused on getting us better, but I think our players would say the same thing. That gave them great confidence for the rest of the season.
Here in the corner.
Natalie Fultz, NBC 38. How might this year's offense look different than last year's?
Well, you know, one of our big goals in the spring was to be more balanced. You know, Coach Lashley and staff worked extremely hard in the passing game. You know, we led the country last year in rushing, and we felt like we had to do a better job of making defenses pay for rolling extra safety down or extra defender down. And so we worked hard on the passing game. I feel like it was a success. We've got some extremely talented receivers, and I feel like our quarterbacks did a good job with that. So, you know, that's our challenge, and hopefully that'll carry over to the fall.
Hey, Coach, Doc Holliday, ABC 24 in Memphis, Tennessee. How does it feel coming back as SEC champions this year when last year not many people expected you all to do what you did, and now they are expecting you all to, you know, have a good season?
Yeah, it's completely different. You know, from last year to this year, you know, we aren't going to sneak up on anyone. Our players understand that. We're going to be circled. But really, that's where you want your program to be. You know, last year we were just trying to get to this point. And now that we're here, but our players understand that and our coaches do. We're going to have to play extremely well, and especially early in the season.
Up front.
You were at Auburn when you beat South Carolina 3 times between 2010 and 2011. How has Auburn always kind of had that edge over South Carolina, especially recently, and what are your thoughts about that game this year?
Well, you know, first of all, we have a lot of respect for South Carolina, and Coach Spurs, one of the better coaches to ever walk the planet. You know, we play them this year. I think they've, won 10 or 11 games the last 2 years, have been one of the better teams, you know, in our league. We know we're going to get their best. They've got a very good defense. They got a very good offense. We are playing at home, but, you know, that'll be a big challenge for us.
Coach, we talked with Reese and CJ about the funniest moments with you, you know, on the field, in the locker room. What's your funniest moment as a coach with an Auburn player?
Wow. Hadn't let my mind go there today. You know, I don't know if there's any funny moments, but just, you know, I'm a little uptight sometimes, and those seniors and those older guys try to, you know, get me to smile some, and Reese and CJ are 2 of those guys that do it.
Coach Sandy Hooper, USA Today. What are your thoughts on the SEC network, and do you think it's going to help to strengthen the conference? Yeah,
there's no doubt. We're excited about the SEC network, and just think it really fits. And I think it's the right time, too, with everything that's going on. I'm excited about it personally, and, you know, speaking to other coaches around the conference, I think they are, too.
Coach Courtney Cronin, Clarion Ledger. Some talk in the offseason about the NCAA maybe trying to slow down the game. I know that you're a proponent of the hurry-up offense. What do you kind of take from, you know, it was a topic, a point of contention with some teams here last year. Now that more teams have seen the hurry-up offense in the SEC, do you think there's an adapting factor to that?
You know, I mean that's what we believe in, and I think if you look around college football, you know, there's a lot of teams, probably the majority of them, doing some type of no-huddle, playing fast. And, you know, if you look at high school football, the majority of those teams are spreading it out, playing fast. And I just think that's where the game's going. You can even look at what Chip Kelly's doing in the NFL with the success he had. And so I just think that's where the game's going. Fans, they like it. They like to watch it, and I know that players like to play in it.
Vanessa Casal, Bleacher Report. We asked your players what was the craziest thing that they saw after the Iron Bowl win, and they mentioned they heard about ashes on the field. What was the craziest thing you saw either on or off the field after that win?
You know, really, one of our fans stole my hat. That was probably what stood out to me and looked me right in the eye. But it was so chaotic and crazy. I will say that he did try to give it back, but that's probably what stood out to me.
Coach, Mac McAllister, WEAR TV, Pensacola. The NCAA is thinking about limiting the practice time and also the contact time for your coaches for practice. How would that limit you guys to prepare for weekly games during the season?
Well, you know, I think you just got to adapt to it, and you know, whatever the rules are for contact, that you do that. And you know, as the season goes on, there's not a lot of programs that have great contact numerous days of the week anyway. And so, you know, I think everybody will adapt to it and be fine.
Marissa Martin, ESPNU. CJ and Reese both talked to us about the 13 seconds longer, 13 seconds better mentality. Yeah. How are you implementing that with your new players, the incoming freshmen? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, you know, we just, our motto is just toughen together. And, you know, last year our motto was together, and I think that's very important. We don't want to lose that, but, you know, how we win games at Auburn is we believe in toughness, physical, mental toughness. And we just felt like our seniors, you know, they just felt like, you know, looking for ways to motivate themselves is to have the Roman numeral 13. And it's more of a mindset. It's not that we already think we're going to the national championship game and we just got to be 13 seconds better. It's not that. It is a mentality that me as a head coach, I got to be 13 seconds better in the way I prepare for a staff meeting. I got to be 13 seconds better the way I set up practice. And so it's just that mentality, that edge that we need to be thinking about, you know, every day, a way to help us improve and get better.
Hey, Coach. Chris Price, WBRZ TV in Baton Rouge. Does one game determine the best conference? Just because the SEC didn't win the national championship last year, does it mean it's no longer the best conference, or is it? Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm disappointed that we were there and we didn't win it, and we played against a very good team. But when you're talking conferences, I think you can go way back. And the teams in our league, there's a lot of great teams, and I think the conference speaks for itself.
In the corner.
Coach, you used the word uptight to describe yourself. Is that because in recent months, though, seeing you at different venues, you appear to be a little bit more relaxed, more calm? Is that because it's not in football season, or are you just becoming more comfortable in your own skin of being one of the most popular, noticeable guys in the state?
Well, my wife tells me I need to liven up my personality a little bit, so maybe that has something to do with it.
Ben Bolton, WRBL in Columbus. What went to the decision to allow Trey Matthews on your team?
Yeah, Trey's like any other player. We do our homework on each player that, you know, we let in our program. The fact that we actually recruited Trey before we went to other school, we've got a coach on our staff that knew Trey well, knew his family well, and we just feel like that he'll be successful in our program.
Coach Jacques Duce, WAFB in Baton Rouge. Is there something positive you said about your players, kind of saying, we're supportive of Nick, but we're also disappointed, you know, not everything's okay, we're not going to wait for the legal process to play out, all those different things that, you know, there is a bit of a disappointment in their leader?
Well, I mean, I think that says a lot about our leaders and our team, and, you know, I think that's a positive.
Coach Steve Nissom, WEAR-TV, Pensacola. I know you'd like to see some improvement on defense, especially statistically. What have you been stressing on that side, and what have you seen in terms of, you know, where you can go defensively?
Yeah, you know, in the spring, our goal was really just to get better at our base fundamentals and techniques of our base defense, and just to get more consistent. You know, last year our defensive staff came in. They just tried to put the best 11 players on the field and make the best of it. I'm very excited that all of our defensive staff's back. Now they can recruit specifically to what Ellis Johnson wants the defense to look like. You know, I believe we got 72 years of SEC experience on our defensive staff, and I don't know if there's ever been a defensive staff with that much. So feel very good about those guys and their plan moving forward. Back here.
Coach, how good do you feel about your secondary right now?
You know, that's one of our goals also. You know, we gave up some big plays last year, and we definitely want to cut down the big plays. And, you know, our secondary will be a big part of that. You know, the thing about it, when you think about big plays, it's usually a culmination of a lot of different things. It's just not one position. But, you know, Melvin Smith and Charlie Harbison are two of the best in the business. And I know they'll have our guys ready.
Up front.
Lauren Sisler, WIAT 42 here in Birmingham. Earlier this summer, I talked to Bobby Bowden. He said we have two of the best coaches of college football here in the state, Nick Saban and you, and he considered you a offensive genius. How do you feel being regarded as an offensive genius?
Well, you know, that's very humbling to hear that from him. I've been very fortunate to coach a lot of great offensive players, and that's part of it. I mean, this is you got to have big-time players to make offenses go, and I've had a lot of really good coaches around me and a lot of really good administrators. So, but that's very humbling to hear that, from Coach Bowden.
In the very back.
Coach, Jake Young from WJHL in Johnson City, Tennessee. The last couple of years, last year in particular, we come into these SEC media days, and they're talking about the stars, those few players. It seems like this year we're not hearing so much about a few players. Do you feel like maybe talent-wise across the board things are a little more even this year, and that maybe there's some young guys kind of chomping at the bit to sort of prove themselves?
Yeah, first of all, there's a whole lot of talent in our league from top to bottom, specifically in the West. I think last year, if you look back, there was a lot of high-profile quarterbacks that were coming back, some great players, and there's not as many quarterbacks in the league coming back. So I think that probably has something to do with that, but there's some great players and some great teams in our league.
Gus, you've had 2 incidents this summer now involving guys having trouble with marijuana. A player from one of our state's major D1 schools told us it's fair to say at least half of the scholarship players get high 3 days a week, and that 25% get high every day. Is that a shocking stat to you? And how do you manage that situation and keep it from becoming a problem?
Well, here's what I know. The last year and a half, we've had one of the cleaner programs in all of college football, and the last 2 weeks we've had 2 situations, and we're going to deal with those situations. And so as far as we're concerned, I feel good about where our program is moving forward, and we're going to deal with it.
Coach Patrick Claiborne, WIAT Birmingham. Can you tell us what the injury is for Carl Lawson, and if you lose him for a significant amount of time, what that is for you?
Carl Lawson had successful ACL injury or surgery the first part of May. He hurt his knee the last week of spring ball. Dr. Andrews took a look at it, wanted to wait a couple weeks till the swelling went down so he could properly read it, and after that time he determined that it was in Carl's best interest to get his knee fixed. Carl's worked extremely hard. Carl's extremely motivated and determined to come back, and with his work ethic and his body type, I don't doubt that.
2 more questions up front.
Coach, Stephen Quinn, Local 15 News. Quick question. Talk about in this conference how important it is to have a returning quarterback, especially with an offense like yours.
Yeah, I think it's very important, in our league for all the teams to have returning quarterbacks and all that. I think it gives them an advantage. And really, for that matter, just, experience at quarterback. Even Jeremy Johnson got quality experience last year, and, played 2 games primarily, and he was the freshman SEC Offensive Player of the Week. So, we feel very good about that.
Last question.
And this season, you all probably have less experienced quarterbacks, less veterans coming back. Do you anticipate having to prepare for more run-heavy offenses because of that?
Say that again.
With less experienced quarterbacks in the league this year, do you anticipate having to prepare for run-heavy offenses?
You would think that, but for the most part, as the season goes on, you learn a little bit more. But for the most part, coordinators are going to stay true to who they are and what they do.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Coach, good luck to you.